Welcome back, everybody. It's Friday afternoon. It is just past 2:30 here on Friday afternoon in London, Ontario, Canada. If you're brand new to Friday Off the Grid, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And there's a Facebook group you can join. If you don't know about it already, it's called Friday Off the Grid. You can find us on Facebook. We have over 3,500 members now, which is amazing, which is just incredible. And it is just the friendliest, nicest group of people you've ever met, and just incredible stitching that we share. Sorry for the page flipping here. I'm just getting my pattern sorted out. As you can see, I am back working on Dido again this week. This is by Sampler Cove. Here is the, here's what it's going to look like when I'm done. I'm not doing the called for colors. And like I said last week, I can't find my page that has the actual called for colors on it, but I can tell you what I've switched out for it. And that would be Needlearts, Grape Arbor, and Old Hickory. Now, I mentioned last week that I was getting a manicure with my daughter last Sunday, and as you can see, I've managed to not completely ruin it. However, I ruined the right hand about 2 minutes after I walked out of the little salon because I reached into my purse to grab my car keys and completely scraped up those two fingers. But you know what? That's kind of just me. So I had a good laugh about it. And so did my daughter. And we had fun. We really enjoyed ourselves. It was fun. I would definitely do it again. Probably not soon. I don't know. It felt, I don't know. I was sitting there and I thought, wish I could knit while I was doing this or stitch or something, but it was fun, and it was really nice to spend time with Sarah. So that was really good. I always forget to give all of the information up at the beginning because I know not everybody makes it all the way through these videos. So if you're wondering, I am stitching this on a 40 count white linen, 1 strand of floss over 2 linen threads. So 1 over 2 with my, and I can see that I've already missed a stitch here, so I'm going to just add that in while I'm thinking about it. There we go. So yes, this is a pattern by Sampler Cove that is it's one in a series of 4 patterns. It's called the Flourish series, and I own all 4. I have floss for all 4. I have linen for all 4. This is the only one that's on the go. And this is the only one that will be worked on this year. I won't be starting a second or possibly third one until next year. Like to try to get a little bit more progress in these large scale whips. And as you can see, I haven't done a lot on this project since you saw it last week. I've done just a couple of threads of the gold in here, and then I continued on with a little bit more of the grape color in here. So as you can see, I chose my nail polish color based on knowing that you guys were probably going to see it today and it would match my project. So that pleases me. That's silly. That's so silly. What am I doing here? All right. I'm going to have to set up my pattern like I did last week, just here, because otherwise I think I'm going to get completely lost. So sorry, it's a little bit in the way there, but I certainly don't think I am going to be breaking any copyright rules by the little teeny bit of the pattern that you can see. Okay, now I actually missed another stitch over here. So boy, oh boy, I'm going to just jump all over the place. Fill this in. This should be 3 across. So I'm going to just skip right over top. Underneath, I should say, not over top. There we go. Okay, so yes, it is Friday afternoon. It's a little later in the day, a little later. Sometimes I try to record these videos. I try to find time to record the Friday video on Thursday so that I can have it all edited and uploaded, ready to go for 6 p.m. Friday start so that I can relax and enjoy my stitching with you and, check out everybody's progress on the Facebook group. But today, this whole week just kind of went by in a blur, and lots of different things going on and happening. And then we had some snow squalls settle in Wednesday night and Thursday, and that affected some plans that I had. I had arranged to meet Kim from Ingersoll, who was one of the winners of the Beagle Paws giveaway. I was going to meet her at Stitch It Central on Wednesday, as well as my other friend Janet on Wednesday morning to exchange bags. And because Kim was a winner of a bag, I was going to meet her there and give her bag. But then we had some really nasty weather in the forecast, especially over the part of the city here in London where I live. And don't get me wrong. If you know me at all, you know that I love, what am I doing? Let me just unpick this. I love winter. Love it. Love the snow. What I don't love is winter driving. And I am making a hash of this. There we go. I'm going to have to just straighten that out. So I'm not a very confident winter driver. And I do work from home. I have almost my entire adult life I have worked from home. I have worn many hats over the last 25 years, and I have usually always worked from home. I've worked for my husband's business for many years. It's only been recently that I have stopped doing that, and I used to drive in and work at his office, but that was before we had kids, so we're talking 18, 19 years ago. And I've pretty much worked from home, had home businesses ever since then. If you don't know, I have a degree in music performance with a specialty in playing the flute, and flute is my principal instrument, but I also teach piano as well. And so for many years, I have had a private music studio in my home. And over the last 2 years, that studio I haven't been actively seeking new students, because generally that business has grown via word of mouth, and the parents of children who already come here will give recommendations, and that's sort of how I filled my studio for the past many years. And it is just recently that I am downsizing my piano and flute studio, because, well, we all sometimes feel like something maybe has seen its course, and it's time to move on and do something different. And Evertote has become a bit of a passion, and being able to spend my days sewing as my work has been amazing. And look at the rabbit hole that I just went down. I was telling you all about Kim and how I was supposed to meet Kim. So I was supposed to meet Kim this week over at Stitch It Central, but we had weather, so that happened and it got canceled. So I will be meeting her next week, which is kind of cool. Very exciting to meet a new stitchy friend who lives close. All right, here we go. Down in the corner. I've exchanged a few emails, Facebook messages back and forth with Claudia, the girl from Tim Hortons who recognized me last weekend, which was hilarious and wonderful. And her mom, Anna, is also, both Claudia and Anna are members of the Friday Night Facebook group. So I'm also hoping that one day soon I will be able to convince them to come out to maybe a stitching night here in the city the next time we plan something with the group here, which would be a lot of fun. So starting Flosstube has opened up a new world of friendships and fun things for me. So I appreciate you all. It's been a ton of fun. And look at that. That one is done. All right, let's sew that end in and then we'll move on. I have to get my face nice and close to the fabric when I have to see. Just a trick of the way my eyes work. And I have forgotten my scissors. So I'm going to pause you for a moment and I will be right back. Okay, so I've gotten my scissors and I have attached my thread in the back up here where I am missing a little bit of a gold motif coming down from this flower. So I don't know if I have enough length of thread left to do this. I suspect it's going to be a bit tight, but when I'm working on these 1 or 2 color pieces, I guess it would make sense if it was a 1 color piece because that would just happen naturally. But if it's a 2 or 3 color piece, I like to complete the thread before I move on to rethread my needle. There we go. Sorry, I think I was just losing my thread there. Okay, so 1, 2, and then we've got 3. Yeah, I definitely won't have enough floss for all of this, but I like to use up my length of thread right to the last drop. So we'll get it across there. All right. So I had asked a question last week about whether you would prefer to see a variety of whips or see this is what's going to happen. This is the danger of using a length that is going to be a bit short. So I'm going to tidy up the end there, and let's see what we can do here. Oops. There's frugal and then there's silly, right? But that's okay. It becomes a bit of a challenge after a while. So I had asked a question whether you would prefer to see the same whip or different whips, because I mentioned last week that my goal was to have only 3 cross-stitch projects being worked on per month and 2 knitting projects. And I've already broken the knitting project number because I added in my mitered square blanket. So 3 knitting projects and 3 cross-stitch projects. And because they are usually 2, so I've chosen 2 big and 1 medium or small. And I'm hoping that that will allow me to see a little bit more progress this year on my pieces. So I asked whether people would prefer to see me working on the same piece every week or alternating between the 3 that I'm working on for the month. And I have to tell you, at first, all of the answers that were coming in were for me to vary the pieces. You wanted to see all of the things that I'm working on. And then the tide changed, and then the comments that started coming in were people wanted to see me working on the same thing. And so I think because it's easiest for me to record these videos when I'm working on my floor frame, I think what I'm going to do, at least what I'm going to start out with, is doing 2 weeks on each project, because my other large scale project that's on my case frame, I'm going to switch them out. So I'm going to put that one on my floor frame, and I'll put Dido on my case frame. Bob's your uncle. See? And Susan didn't recognize that expression. Susan, Golden Stitcher. And if you don't know Susan on Instagram, I will link her Instagram account below, because she's just the loveliest stitcher. We met through our shared love of golden retrievers, and Susan always watches. So I know I'm just going to give you a big old shout out, Susan, because you are just one of the loveliest stitchers I've met. Susan had never heard the expression Bob's your uncle, which caused her to then have to try and look up the expression. So it was really funny. I'd never thought. I tend to use expressions like that frequently and not even think about them. So I'll try to be more aware if I say something that might sound a bit funny. But then, lots of other people said that they knew what they had heard Bob's your uncle before. I think the whole expression goes Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. And it just means, something is good. It's working. I've done this correctly, so Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. There was another expression like that John's mom used to use all the time. And I can't, for the life of me at the moment, remember what it is. But I'll have to try and remember that for another time. Anyways, so on Monday, I recorded my Monday. It was a very short Flosstube update. It was only a 10-minute little blurb. And I had lost my friend Audrey passed away on Monday, and I received just the most wonderful, kind, caring comments from you all, and I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out of your day, and first of all, listening to my words about Audrey, and then sending me something so kind. It's just a nice feeling to know that someone else hears you and understands a little bit of how you feel. And so I just wanted you to know that I really appreciated everything that you said and what you sent me. It meant a lot. Oh, my friend Audrey. Oh, she was one of those women that it didn't matter who you were or what kind of personality you were. She was the kind of woman that people naturally gravitated towards, and as soon as they met her, fell in love with her, because she was really just you could tell from the minute she opened her mouth, she was the genuine thing. Kind and funny and generous and sweet. And, I literally could go on for days with adjectives about the kind of, pretty terrific human being she was. And then, so you like her immediately. And then as you start to get to know her, and she would open up about her life, and I mean, she was pretty open about things that had happened to her in her life and struggles that she'd gone through. And you realized very quickly that she was also a woman of incredible strength. And You think some of the things that she went through, you'd have to be incredibly strong to survive them. Her first husband passed away when she was 36, and they had 6 children. And now this is very familiar to me, this story, because, well, my father's father passed away when he was 13, and he also was in a family of 6. And I know that, that knowing that a woman of that era having to raise 6 children on her own, when I would hear Audrey's stories, it would make me think of my grandmother Bert, my dad's mom, who went through something very similar and had to raise a family of 6 children on her own during a time period when, women didn't really work. And it was just, not only did they maybe not necessarily always work outside the home, but they certainly didn't make as much money as men made. And then also to having to raise 6 children on your own with no help. And she worked, so getting back to Audrey, she worked as a secretary in a drafting office. What would you call that? Like engineering draftspeople, way back when. So when her husband died, that was the job that she held. She was the secretary for this company. And then when he passed away, she started taking on more responsibility at this office, and she started doing some of the drafting work. She would help out with things that they would ask her to do. And then she realized that she was actually quite capable at the work that they were doing. And so she went to night school, and she acquired all of the certification that she needed to become a draftsman. And that's what she did. And then this company that she worked for took her on in that capacity. And then she worked alongside everybody else doing the work that she was capable of doing. And just, the stories of, now what, I am way off here. What am I doing? 4-3. I am completely distracted. That's okay. Oops, sorry. 4. Now this 3 touched. That's good. Then we've got 2. Then we've got 3 over here. We're still good. All right. We're still on track. So she supported her family on her own. And then her eldest son died at the age of 19 in a car accident. And, losing a child, losing your husband, losing a child. And, she just, how do you ever get over that? You carry it with you. And she would talk about it with such openness, and I don't even know how to describe it, but it was incredible to listen to her speak. She survived cancer I believe in her 60s. I may have my ages and dates wrong. I believe in her 60s she survived leukemia, and went on, and she was 86 when she passed away. I'll never forget my friend Virtuti, who was extremely close to Audrey. And when I was working less, I would often be the one to pick up Audrey and drive her to the stitching events that we would have at Thread and I, because I lived very close to her. And if the girls were headed to my house for stitching night, then Virtuti would pick up Audrey and bring her over here. So I will never forget that feeling of the first few times driving Audrey in my car and feeling like, you know how when you're driving someone else's child in the car and it feels a bit like carrying eggs because you know it's precious cargo and it makes you feel a little bit nervous. And you're on your best behavior when you're driving. And anyways, I always felt a little bit like that when I was driving Audrey around. But I'd pick her up and we'd head over to Stitch Night, and sometimes we'd stop and pick up a few groceries or things that she needed. She lived with her family. She adored her family. She lived with her daughter, Lisa. Lisa was her youngest daughter, and she lived with Lisa and Lisa's family for many years. And so she grew up with her granddaughters. Her granddaughters grew up knowing her, living with her, and she was able to care for them. And she was surrounded in her own little apartment in their house with her things, her stitching, her knitting, all of her crafts, and she loved her life. And I think in your 80s, if you love your life, you can't ask for much more than that. And I will miss her a lot. Thanks for listening. All right, how are we doing? Sometimes I switch back to one-handed stitching, but two-handed, and I think because it helps me concentrate a little bit when I have a trickier pattern and I'm talking to you, and I do not want to have to unpick any of this. So, but that's okay. Anyways, so I ordered myself a little treat last night. I ordered myself a Lowry stand. Can you believe it? They were on sale through So-and-So UK. So that's SEW and SO. And they were on sale, a little bit of a sale. And I ordered the extra long arm, and also the funny thing that Ginger Gerald has on the back of his, the adapter, the little clamp adapter that clamps onto the scroll rods and helps hold it in place. I ordered one of those too, because generally I tend to work on larger projects. But what I'm really hoping that the Lowry will be good for is holding onto my Q-snaps, because I have a fair number of Q-snaps, and I tell you, I'm not a fan of holding on to them. I find that my hand gets really tired and it forces me to stitch one-handed, which stitching two-handed is definitely my preferred way to go. So I ordered it last night and I received a confirmation email today that it has shipped and it's on its way all the way to Canada. So let's see how long it takes, but I'm kind of excited. Kind of super excited. Now, what am I doing here? So these three in the middle are going to be 2. I think I'm good. And look at that. I never went back and finished that. Don't worry, I won't forget about it. Promise. I'll go back and finish that later. Okay, so I ordered my Lowry stand. I told you about that. Hopefully that'll arrive, not too long, but sometimes the anticipation is kind of fun too. So I'm excited to receive it when it comes. All right. I think I've got to piece together this video. I think I've got 2 or 3 little, maybe even 4 segments to piece together. And I better get to that so that I can get it uploaded and get dinner on the go so that I am ready in time for 6 p.m. because I am going to sit and stitch tonight. I can tell you that. And I'm going to try really hard to get a lot of work accomplished on this piece. So I'm going to be working on this piece. I'm also going to be working on my Ginger Gerald Stories from the North, because I heard a rumor that he's going to be releasing the third part soon. And it is, wait till you see it. The third part is pretty awesome. So I have to get a wriggle on. I'm not counting Ginger Gerald's patterns as new starts, because technically I knew I always wanted to do all 5. So that counts as one project to me. It doesn't count as a new start, right? That's what I'm going with. Oh, just a couple more. I can't put this down. I don't want to put this down. I love this project so much. I love the color. When I chose the nail polish, Sarah said, yeah, that looks like you. That's your color. And I said, yep, matches everything in my wardrobe. All right. I will never stop. Okay. There. A little bit more progress, and then I am going to carry my floor frame downstairs because I don't have my Lowry yet to swap it out, and I'm going to work on this tonight. I will post a picture at the end of my 6 hours of stitching time tonight on the Friday Off the Grid Facebook group. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and that you get to do something fun and maybe stay in your pajamas if that's what you like to do. I am going to go and make myself a big cup of coffee and get this video up so that we can hang out together tonight. Have a great weekend, everybody. Happy stitching.